Hello everyone. So once again, please like and subscribe or support me on Patreon. I would love to do this full time if possible. Also, spoiler warning. So I tried playing through Wuchang Fallen Feathers, and unfortunately, I just can't play the game. It's a shame because I think the game is rather well made. The combat and exploration are competent. The combat is flashy and has impact. You can feel the weight of your weapon when you swing it, and fighting the enemies in the game is kind of fun. The boss fights, as far as I played, are not really that special or anything though. They are good quality bosses, but don't really stand out from all the other Souls-likes that I have played. It does the job. That's about it. I think that the different kinds of weapons you can use are also really cool. This game's weapon system gives you 5 different weapon types, as well as a skill tree with 5 different routes for each weapon, as well as a 6th tree for things like flask upgrades and stuff. I think that this tree is okay. On one hand, it is a very creative level system that allows the player to reset their points whenever they want, which allows for the player to be able to experiment with each type of weapon and find the playstyle that they enjoy. And I think that the tree is pretty cool in general. However, there are some missteps in my opinion with the skill tree. For one thing, I think that the leveling up and the skill tree should have been split up into separate things, so that leveling up stats and leveling up masteries are separate systems as a whole. Making them integrated in the same system makes leveling not as satisfying as if they were separate, because you have to choose between stats and skills or buffs to your Skyborn Might or Madness, and I would rather use my levels to level up stats rather than upgrade skills most of the time. I think it would have been better to keep them separate so that you don't have to choose between the two, as leveling up already feels hard in this game. It makes the game more challenging than I wish for it to be. And that is another thing about this game. Leveling up is super hard in this game for some reason. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like getting red mercury from enemies is hard. You never feel like you get enough red mercury from killing enemies. I wish I could farm levels and get stronger by killing things, but how meager the amount from regular enemies is, the red mercury, it really discourages players from the brute force style of fighting bosses. I want the option of being able to be stronger than needed for the boss fights. I know I sound kind of like a pussy, but I don't really enjoy these heart-pounding games like I have in the past. I would rather play a Souls-like that encourages the player to be stronger than necessary for the boss. I want to be able to have that option, if you know what I mean. And this game heavily discourages that with its stat/level system. I also think the game is a bit stingy on weapons. I played for 10 hours and only got like 5 weapons. I feel like they could have added weapons to the game. I played for 10 hours and only got 5. It feels like they could have added more weapons to the game with more movesets. It would have made exploration feel much better as well. This game, there were not that many cool weapons or armor sets to pick up, unfortunately, and that is part of what makes exploration satisfying in these kinds of games. Finding these cool weapons and armors lying around. And speaking of exploration in this game is also not as satisfying as I would have hoped. On one hand, there are a lot of branches and paths that you can explore, which is pretty fun, and having the option to go through to a lot of different places in this game is fun. The biomes are pretty interesting, from the graveyards to abandoned hideouts to some cool ancient Chinese palaces. However, I do think that there are too many branching paths sometimes. Exploration feels like you are meandering around a lot, and with so many branching paths and options, a lot of the time, it does feel kind of overwhelming to explore places in the game. Like, stuff feels a bit too branched out, or too much like you're forced to go to separate paths. Exploring a small village feels like a huge task sometimes, because of all the roofs and the house interiors and everything. And they feel pretty stingy on save spots, so it makes exploration feel more challenging than it ought to be. Overall, I really don't think this is a bad game, but I just want to keep playing. I don't want to just keep playing Souls-likes that are hard for the sake of being hard. And that's what this game feels like. What is so good about Dark Souls and Elden Ring is that they are not games that are hard just for the sake of being hard besides the DLCs. They are hard because of how creative and expansive they are, but they also give the player options to become overpowered too, through weapons, movesets, and upgrades, as well as giving player options like summoning. They give the player options to whoop ass in their games, and it just does not feel like that in this game. It feels like they make things hard for the sake of being hard, and if you want to overlevel, you need to put a lot of effort into the game, a lot of time wasted. And again, I don't think this is a bad game, but in my 10 hours of playing it, for the reasons that I mentioned, I just could not get into it. I would give the game a 6 out of 10.